Recently, my friend Zoe has been playing through Silent Hill 2, which I've been very excited about because it is one of my absolute favorite stories ever told in a game. That's a legal requirement, by the way, if you're in your mid-20s and chronically depressed. And one time I was checking in with her, asking where she was in the story, and she said she had just met with Eddie in the movie theater. And I was like, what? In the what? There's no movie theater in Silent Hill. Do you mean the bowling alley with Eddie and Laura? And she said, no, the movie theater with Eddie and Laura. And I was like, oh, silly me, I fucking lied. Zoe isn't playing through Silent Hill 2, or at least not this Silent Hill 2, no. She's playing through the remake of Silent Hill 2. The game built on a completely different engine with completely different gameplay, completely different actors delivering completely different performances, and apparently, in certain places, completely different settings for certain scenes. I've mentioned this before, but I have been a complete and total hater of the Silent Hill 2 remake ever since it was first revealed, which I admit is not fair. It's totally unfair. I shouldn't judge games before I play them, and maybe I will play it someday, but the conversation got me thinking, my friend is not playing the game that I recommended to her. She's playing a game with the exact same name and basic story as the one I recommended, but with none of the same actors that helped make that story so special to me. Altered presentation and presumably a different script. That's no fault of her own, of course. I mean, how could she have known? It's not called Silent Hill 2 Remake or Revisited or whatever. It's just called Silent Hill 2. Which tells the consumer it's basically the same as this Silent Hill 2. And if that was the intent, it's completely misleading. Video game preservation has been a hot button issue for a while now, and in this case, I understand why it was necessary to remake Silent Hill 2, because the source code for the original game was lost, meaning it would be a task and a half to even do a simple port of the game. See the absolutely disastrous Silent Hill HD collection. But a remake of this type, while not inherently bad, is also not preservation. And if someone wants to experience the original Silent Hill 2, the remake is not that. It might be an interesting thing to experience alongside the original, a la Half-Life and Black Mesa, but it is not a replacement for the original.
I think of it in the same way I do the various Resident Evil remakes. The Resident Evil remake for the GameCube is lauded as one of the best remakes of all time, reinventing and adding upon a game that was already considered to be a modern classic. It's so different, calling it a remake feels disingenuous, and the same goes for the recent remakes of RE2, 3, and 4. Now, Resident Evil is a series I have not played, at least not yet, but if and when I do get around to it, I wouldn't want to stick to just the remakes. In my mind, they're there to enhance the originals, not replace them. Of course, I am exceptionally strange in that respect though, and I'm probably in an extreme minority when I say I want to experience both, but I feel it's important because these remakes are not replications of the original experience, which is a value that I don't think most people care about, but it's very important to me. I believe in video game preservation, and usually that means ports and/or remasters are the way to go if you don't have the original hardware or don't want to spend ludicrous prices online. Or you could just emulate.
It's tricky though, because if I wanted to recommend a movie to somebody, I would just say, watch this movie. It's on Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever streaming service, and if it has a remake, then check that out afterwards. But if I recommend a game to somebody, I have to make sure they know it's only available on this hardware, or maybe there was an HD port, might be on Steam if you're lucky, and oh wait, there is a remake?
Sometimes we do get the luxury of options though. The original Resident Evil trilogy was recently put on GOG, RE4 is on practically every platform under the sun, and it would be nice if we could get the same treatment for Silent Hill, but it would also be nice if Konami didn't suck cock, so what are you gonna do? Another Konami franchise is much more lucky though. Metal Gear has had every game in its main series preserved multiple times over, even with MGS4 finally breaking away from its PS3 shackles later this year. And it's an ideal situation with Snake Eater, where both the original and the remake are available on the same platform, which is fantastic since the remake is so fucking ugly. Okay, maybe that's a little harsh, but I feel like the Unreal Engine hyper-realism is a far cry from how I think the game should look. That's another thing that's tricky though. art direction. Many times a game's look is tied to the limitations of its hardware, and some people really dig the types of visuals that those limitations breed. Why do you think so many indie horror games go for a PS1 aesthetic? So when a remake comes along and cleans up the visuals, it's not always a direct improvement. Many times it's up to taste, like the Shadow of the Colossus remake, for example. I love this game, and it's one of the few remakes I would say can serve as a suitable replacement for the original, but the one sticking point for me is the new art style. Where there once was a land bathed in brilliant, radiant light, there are now overcast skies and a much more muted and dark color palette. Sometimes, though, you get the opposite problem, like with Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes. The original is a fairly grounded story, but the remake has... But if anyone has consistently done the best remakes, oddly, I think it might be Nintendo. On the 3DS especially, they put out some of the best remakes a fan could ask for. Star Fox 64 3D, Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask 3D, and Luigi's Mansion are completely revamped visually, but in terms of gameplay, they're ostensibly identical to their original works. Say what you want about Nintendo, believe me, I have, but they've always had a great amount of respect for their past, even going back to the Super NES with Super Mario All-Stars, remaking Mario's NES platformers in 16-bit. And recently, I'd say they're doing the best job of the big three with game preservation, offering loads of legacy titles through NSO, and providing plenty of ports and remasters as well, all offensively priced. For my money, Nintendo is the best when it comes to truly preserving their legacy titles. Maybe tied with Xbox, but they don't have nearly as long a history. It's great to see so many wonderful games represented here, and knowing that many more are still to come. And even more confusing that so many people are still asking for an Ocarina of Time remake. But at least they usually only remake games that need remakes. You want to hear a funny joke? The Last of Us Part 1. I am far from the first person to bring this up, but it cannot be overstated how pointless and what a complete waste of resources this remake is. So The Last of Us came out in 2013 on PS3, and it was immediately a hit. However, it was the same year that the PS4 came out, and it was not backwards compatible with PS3 games. So, a year later, The Last of Us Remastered came out. Might have seemed weird to remaster a one-year-old game, but it made sense to have one of the PS3's biggest hits available on PS4. What the fuck is the point of this? You decided for the PS5 to do a complete remake from the ground up of a game that could already be played on PS5? This was obviously made to capitalize on HBO's adaptation of The Last of Us, which aired the same year, but you remade it completely from the ground up. How much of a profit did you really make from this? I mean, gameplay's the same, all the performances are the same, so I guess it's preservation, but why was this remake necessary?
It wasn't. Remakes are absolutely inescapable. Sometimes it can seem like there are more remakes coming out than original games these days. And they're awesome to see, but they very rarely capture the spirit of the original games. And most players either don't know that or don't care, thinking that the originals are just antiquated clunkfests that will be better left in the past. And maybe sometimes that's true. I mean, I still have war flashbacks from the time I tried to play System Shock, but the history of video games is important, and while they can be very hard to preserve faithfully, the effort should still be put in. And if you want to do a remake, that's fine, but I think it should be more clearly stated what these things are. Years ago, Zoe also said that she wanted to play Final Fantasy VII, so she picked up Final Fantasy VII Remake. She just can't catch a fucking break! Anyway, what do you think are some good and bad remakes in games? Are you open-minded to new interpretations, or are you a stubborn purist like me? Let me know your thoughts, and if anyone knows the answer, please let me know why they decided to make Dragon Quest VII Reimagined look so fucking gross!